Good evening, good Sunday evening. You are with us once again. We are here on Umba Radio, and I am your host, Simone. And as I say every Sunday, this is a show to celebrate those who are not celebrated. You know, authors that are not in those genres that you normally hear a lot about, and where they don't get a whole lot of accolades. But here we're going to give them some accolades here on Wild Radio. As again I say, my name is Simone, and this evening we are truly blessed to have Julia Royston. I'm going to share a little bit with you guys about Julia. Of course, she's an author in publishing and motivational speaker. Miss Royston was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. She is the oldest of three daughters in a Christian family and is married to Mr. Brian K. Royston. She earned a BA in accounting and two master's degrees in information science and a doctorate in religious education from Bellarmine University, University of Kentucky, Spalding University, and Grace Bible College, Niles, Ohio, respectively. And, she has been singing since the early age of 9 and has appeared on the Bobby Jones Presents New Artist Showcase and ministered with notables such as Dr. Jackie McCullough, Pastor Donnie McClurkin, Bishop Noel Jones, Bishop Tudor Bismarck, Myron Williams, Bishop Richard, Mr. Clean White, just to name a few. So this evening we're going to jump right into getting to know who she is. We want to have that conversation and know who she is. Welcome, Ms. Royston, to our show this evening. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you, and I'm honored and privileged to be a part this evening. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to jump right in. I'm quite sure most of our listeners are curious, and when it comes to mind when you're interviewing an author, publisher, and motivational speaker, what made you decide that you wanted to do those things? And that's I would say, quite often people say, well, those things are related, but when you look at them, they're a little different. There's a little difference, and I guess there's a purpose and a reason behind each one. So how did you get involved and wear those hats, so to say?
Well, it's amazing because now that I've looked back on it, I realize that I've probably been having the foundation for it for a long time. You know how sometimes you don't realize that you get to a certain point until you get there, and then you look back on all the steps that you've taken to actually get there and realize, okay, they make sense now, but then they didn't make sense at all. But, sometimes you think they're isolated events. But my love of reading came from my father. He's deceased now, but he was a teacher. He was a public school educator. He retired in 1988. My mother was a homemaker, and my dad was an entrepreneur as well. But one of the things that we used to do when he was starting his business, my mother would take us to the public library. And, of course, then in the children's section, all the books would be low to the ground. And for kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when you're young, oh my goodness, this is actually a shelf with the books near you and on your level. And so you could actually touch the books, etc. So that was kind of my love of reading, was actually having my own little Walmart bag full of books, and then my mother had an armload because she read to us every single solitary night. And my love of reading and all about books, of course, because my mother was an animated reader. She didn't read everything. So when, I was born in the 60s. So see Spot run. Oh, Jane can, oh my gosh, I was running with Spot and I was chasing him with Jane and oh my gosh, I was doing it, So that has really kind of whetted my appetite and really my hunger for books. And I honestly, accidentally, of course, I just needed a part-time job when I was an undergraduate, and I went and I knew I was not cut out for the food service. I just wasn't. So I said, well, I typed 80 words a minute. Let's see, I can do clerical skills. I had all of that. So when I was a junior in college, I worked part-time at a law library. I started working for lawyers my junior year in college, and that was the end of it. I was hired full-time when I graduated from undergraduate, and that was my first step into libraries, and then on with master's number one, and then, of course, a second one for schools. So that was kind of my foundation, but who knew that I would write books and actually publish other authors from those foundational, very fundamental things that you think all kids do. All kids want to love books, and all kids read, and all kids have their parents read to them every night. Not necessarily, I mean, I'm being unrealistic, really, but, you know, you think that's just a fundamental thing. You have no idea where that could actually lead. Now, 2010 is when I published my first book for someone else, and that was doing a regular book signing at a vendor event, and I had a table, and somebody walked up to me, and she was over a dance ministry. I didn't know she even wrote books. I knew she was a dancer and did praise dance at church, but I didn't know she did anything else. She saw my table. She said, "I'm going to pay you, and you're going to publish my book." I said, "No, I'm going to tell you how I did it." She said, "No, you are going to be my publisher, and I'm going to pay you." And that was my first book, and 53 authors later, here I am. So it's like from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and they told two friends, and so on. So, you know, I've been singing since I was young, since I was 7 to 8 years old. That's just something we just did at church, and that was kind of, you know, just something I did and loved it, and it loved me, and I loved it. So, you know, it's just all kind of evolved. It seems separated, and, you know, my dad said I needed a very practical job because I really wanted to be a music major in college, and he said, "You can't make no money in no music, blah, 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 blah." So I loved accounting in high school, and that's why I have an accounting degree. But it pays off, you know, in business. Having an accounting degree is not a bad thing to have.
I know it definitely it helps. It helps, especially in business. And let me ask you this: your first book of your own. How did you decide with an idea? How did you come up? What was your formula for coming up with an idea for your first book?
Well, honestly, you know, as much as I've been around books and libraries for 30 years, I never had a desire to write a book. But I went through a divorce in 1994, and writing and journaling became a healing for me. And so I just thought they were just my private notebooks. So when I changed jobs, that would be my personal pouch of notebooks that I would actually put in my car and actually drive to my next location because I've moved quite a bit. And, you know, it was just something personal of my own. I had no idea. And then in 2006, I got remarried. And then 2008, God said, "Go get the notebooks and bring them out and type them up," and it was my first book. My first book was poetry. And I didn't realize, sometimes you're just writing and you don't realize, it's just like kids when, you know, cat and bat. Oh my gosh, I made a rhyme. And that's what happened. Honestly, I can truthfully tell you, honestly, everything was just totally inspired. So my first book was basically a call and just birthed out of real pain, but you know, from there, the book of poetry is not male bashing or male hating or anything like that. It was healing for me, going through a really hard time in my life. So that was kind of my first book, and from then on, most of my books are either inspired or now they're birthed out of a need. They're either a need in my business or inspiration, or sometimes it's a bit both. So, you know, there's people who say, I don't get the luxury of having an idea and then it just linger on for years. It haunts me until I get it out, and I get it on my computer because I don't write by hand anymore, but until I type it out, because it's just, I hear the characters, if it's fiction, I hear what I'm supposed to be doing, it's in my head. So that's kind of it was birthed out of pain for me. And I know that authors have come to me and they feel a need for healing and for inspiration and empowerment. And that's one way they really do it, is through their writing. Because writing is very therapeutic. and very healing, and can really be deliverance, empowerment, inspiration. It's multifaceted, and I didn't even realize it until much later, especially helping other authors.
Exactly. Would you say that your process and your writings, would you say that they have sort of become your ministry? Is it that, would you look at it that way? Would you give it that title?
Well, yes and no. They have. I have another girlfriend who's a publisher as well, and she said, it's you, Julia. You end up doing ministry because, one, I really like people. I really like helping people. So even though I've done non-Christian books as well, because I do have a second company that is not necessarily faith-based, it's more what I call global issues, but it ends up being because, one, I have no biological children, so I really take every book as a child. As I tell people, I'm a midwife for books, and I really strive to help people bring life to the book that's down inside them. But a lot of them, just like my first book, are birthed out of pain. There's a painful situation, so there's always issues that some people are expressing through their writing. So therefore, you become not only just their publisher, but sometimes their counselor, sometimes their friend. And then I've published more than 100 books, and I have not known one book that has not been, of course, every book is, of course, connected to the author, but that the author has not experienced some type of attack in some kind of way, or some kind of, I'm not really trying to spiritualize it, but they've had some type of agony or something happen that, strives to hinder them. So they always have to seemingly overcome something to actually get the book out there. I mean, some people have had death in the family, and loss of job, and loss of just money, period, and the car broke down, and this, just every last one. So it's really an overcoming process as well. So, it ends up being, I always say, anything that involves people, if you really don't like people, don't do it. Get something that has an inanimate object that doesn't have feelings, etc., because you won't be able to really help people as you should unless you really like people and have an understanding. Yes, it is business. Yes, you should take care of the business of it, get paid, the legalities, but in the end, you're still doing business with people. You're still helping people deliver their dreams, their goals, their vision. I might not have always wanted to write a book and see my book published, but there are many authors who come to me, this is their lifelong dream. This is their hope, and they cry, they hug me, this is just a major accomplishment that I'm helping people to actually do. And it's an honor for me, and just incredible that I could be entrusted with this level of confidence. It's just really overwhelming at times.
And and I find that to be an excellent advice. And with a lot of things that people, their endeavors and things that they do, I'm gonna say this: anything with business, when you're dealing with people and individuals, it has to be what I call people or person centered. You have to. You're exactly right. You have to have a love for people, because if you don't, it's definitely not the place for you. And that brings me to my next, what I wanted to kind of have you kind of elaborate on is when, we have a lot of listeners that are, if they may be first-time authors, or they may have published or self-published many, many, many books, but they may be also someone out there that's maybe done a lot of writing but just haven't had the, I guess, I don't want to say the nerve, but had the courage, I guess, to go forward and publish. What would be your advice to someone that is right on the cusp of either first-time publisher, or maybe not published a first book, but it may not have been accepted, or may not have had the what's the word I want to use? May not
the notoriety and
the notoriety that they expected when they published it.
Right. Well, I tell, of course, after 9 years, I look at books, totally different, and the person connected to it totally different than I did 9 years ago. 9 years ago, I was just trying to make sure the book was correct and everything was aligned. Now, I look at the whole person. It's the person that's delivering the book. It's the topic. It's what connection do they have with it, and then what they can actually deliver to that actual audience. Because there's an audience for every genre. There really is. Finding that audience and knowing who that audience is makes a difference. Another thing, too, is if you're really passionate about your book, you're going to not only speak about your book, but you're going to be searching for that audience to deliver that to. And I find that some people publish for different reasons. They publish for just to say I did it, and I've had authors who say that, oh no, I just really want, and I'm not really trying to have notoriety, I just want to have something for my kids to have and my friends and family. So we know that going in up front. Or some people are in ministry and they travel and they need a product with them. They need products with them. That's fine. And then there are some people that I'm finding here lately who want to write, but they don't understand that they have to be the spokesperson. They have to be the front person. They have to really be aggressive about it. They have to learn and to be a student of the publishing business, because you are in business. The book is a business. It's just not a business card, as we used to say 4 or 5 years ago. It is a business, and you need to know about your business as much as possible, the outlets of your business, and you need to either have someone or specifically a publisher that's helping you walk through that process. Now, there are all types of publishers out there who just want to make money and get it out there and just say, here you go, bye. And then there are others who really strive to help you walk through the process of looking at, let's plan. Before we sign a contract, before we look at covers, let's see what's the topic and what do you do in this field to help move it. Because I don't care how much I do as a publisher, the audience still wants to meet the author. They still want to meet the author. So what do you do in connection with this? Or what are you willing to learn in connection with that book? So if you're writing about grief, you hopefully are going to be helping someone with grief. You're either a grief counselor, you're going to do grief ministry, something. If you're writing fiction, you're going to have to start speaking about your book and what your book is about, and making people excited about your book and wanting to read it. And then you're going to have to read it, and then you're going to speak. You're going to have to travel. Whatever your book is about, especially if you have a book for business, that's really closely connected, already associated with what you already do. You realize that you have to be just like an actor in a movie. They have to do promotions for that movie. Once the movie is done, there begins the promotion efforts of it. The radio, the television, the junkets they have to go to help promote it and actually move it. Have you really done your due diligence? Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to adjust your schedule to actually do that and to incorporate this book, your new baby, your new business, into your life? And some people honestly say no, and they keep that writing in the drawer. And that is your decision. It really, really is. If you really have a heart for it, and you really want the world to know about it, there are ways, and there are efforts, and there are connections, and there are resources out there to make that happen. You got to be willing to put in the time and put in the effort to do it. And it may cause for some investment, but is it worth it for your audience to get the message that you have? Is that worth it? Are you passionate enough about your topic and that is related to your book? Because your book can only be the beginning. It can be turned into a workshop, a webinar, a telesummit, a conference, a retreat, an intense. It's endless of what it can become. We know of all types of people who became household names with just one book. It just took one book to transform their whole life. So it's possible. I'm not saying that it happens every day and a dime a dozen, but it's possible. As long as it's possible, as my father used to say, and human beings are capable of doing it, you can have that done as well. I hope that answers.
Your father, I agree. It does. It opens some. It enlightened me myself, because as I tell guests of this radio show, I am a first-time author, and I published my book back in April of 2014, but I lost my mom in 2015. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. In April of 2015, and then I lost my mom in August of 2015, and it kind of threw me, an unexpected death, and that kind of took the air out of me doing what I initially began to do with the book, with the book going and speaking and things like that. So now I'm starting to rebuild back on that and rebrand that book, because it's actually a memoir of what I endured for 10 years being married, dealing with enduring domestic violence. So it kind of knocked me off my feet, my mom's death, but after, the beginning of this year, I said, you know what, I'm going to get back on track with it and do all the things that I want to do, and I'm dedicated to that. But dedicated, first of all, to the cause. You have to be dedicated.
Yes.
I feel like, it started with me from, my ex-husband being from high school up until I was 30 years old. I endured it even before we were married. And, young girls just don't understand. That's my demographic. I want to get to those girls that are in high school and middle school to let them know what the signs are, not to move on with a relationship of that sort. So that is my passion. It has to be like, I know what you mean. You come from that point of view. It has to be my passion. It has to be something I want to do. I have to be willing to give up some things in order to make that happen. And a lot of authors I notice here locally, because I'm in Baton Rouge, they get discouraged because things don't out of the gate go as they thought they would. But it's like I told them, it's a job. It becomes a job. Being an author, it's like it's being a job. It's a business. It's just like that 9 to 5 that you go to, but really and truly, it's a 24/7 when it's your baby.
Exactly.
So, I tell them that all the time. It's something, I had a little something that happened to me in my life that kind of detoured me. But I look back at it now, and I don't think it detoured me. It kind of prepared me for what I'm beginning to do now. So that's, I love what you had to say. I agree with you 100% on what you said about that. It has to be something that you want to do, and there's so many different things you have to make changes. If you're not willing to do that, it's just not going to happen for you. Let me ask you this. I'm looking at your bio, and you've done so many things as far as you have different companies, different businesses, and you do different things. You speak. What I really want to know is, how do you manage to, do you have help? Or are you a one-woman team? How do you, a lot of authors, they work the 9 to 5. How do you run that business, be a writer, publish other authors, and keep it all together? How do you manage to do that?
Well, one of the things is I still do work a regular job. I'm a teacher. I have 21 years invested in education, so I'm like my dad. I'm probably not going to make it to 27 years, just the demands of my business, and my husband, he's like, I don't want to retire, and you coming out when I retire. But, it's time management. I used to be, when I first started 9 years, I just had one author and my own books and one other book. And of course, I was able to be a one-woman show. I did the covers, I did everything. And then I realized, if I'm going to survive in this, because it started multiplying faster than I could really keep up with, I knew then, okay, I've got to build a team. So I do have a team that really, really helps me do that. I think it's key that you have a team when you can afford a team. I know some people say, I have a lot of voluntary help. That's good, but you need to take care of that volunteer help if you have it. You need to take care of them in some way, shape, or form, even if it's $20, let's all go to lunch and you take them to lunch. Or you need to give them a gift, or you need to show people that you really appreciate helping them. As soon as you can afford it, you need to make that investment in a virtual assistant and in helping you with that process. People who can, a virtual assistant can really help you make phone calls, possibly get bookings and things of that nature. So, no, I'm not a one-woman show anymore. I have a great team that is really helping me, and I really am seeking to expand even more with my team because it just requires that. And with really trying to help authors market and promote their books even more, it really requires a team. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a book and a workbook that's building the dream team. And so I had to really take my own advice that was given to me. You really need to look for people who have your vision or you can relay your vision to, and they can capture that vision. You need to not only look for people who are like you, but you may need to look for people who are kind of different than you. They may be a little annoying, but in their lane, they're gifted to do what they do. So you need their gifting. You don't necessarily, this is not the time when you're doing business to be sitting around just, oh, we're girlfriends going shopping together. It's not that time. They may have a different personality than you, but they're excellent at what they do. Let them function and let them do. It means that you sometimes have to humble yourself, take advice from others, because if they're really mean your best interest at heart, and they really are good at what they're doing and really striving to help you take it to the next level, you really need to take a step back, be the overseer, yeah. You're controlling your destiny, but you've got to let your team function, because otherwise, if they're good at what they do, they will be gone from you if you don't take care of your team. So that's like 2 or 3 real nuggets that I have for people. You really need to be looking out for those people who do that well. If you don't do event planning well, then you need to go to events, see who did it. Ask them for their card. Ask them how much they are. If you don't have the money, save for it. If you don't have the money, raise for it. Whatever it takes. But to do something in excellence and something to do well, you really need a team to take it to the next level. You need people to help you, especially those areas that you're weak. Even those areas that you do well, sometimes you have to let them go. Just because you can do it, you need to question and ask yourself, should I be doing it? Should I be spending my time doing that now? Is that really where I should be putting my efforts? Or should my efforts be being the visionary, being the actual entrepreneur instead of the laborpreneur, as one business coach said, or the solopreneur? Let me be the visionary to actually see where we're going in 5 to 10 years. So, really, no, I can't do it alone, not anymore. I have to have a team and praying every day for team members and things that. Now, another thing, too, that I had to do in business, and if you're really either wanting to be a publisher or you're wanting to be a coach with you publish your book and you want to turn that into a business, or that's another product with your business, you need to make sure, if you're in business, you need to make sure that you're charging enough to cover the people that are coming, to make sure that you're able to take care of that, paying that team and paying that staff. You need to make sure that you're profitable enough to take care of that. And as soon as you are, you need to make sure, okay, for this product or service, this much is going to be for a virtual assistant. This much is for my graphics people. This much is for my social media people. This much is for my website people. This much is for, my personal assistant, or if you need a stylist, or whatever that vision or that goal is. Make sure that you're profitable enough to take care of that and still be profitable in the end after you've taken care of the expenses. Don't pay everybody and have nothing left over. You've got to make sure that happens as well. So, yeah, you need a team. Long story short, you need a team. You got to make sure you have one.
Let me say something that I'm curious about. I'm not quite sure, and I want those that are listening that may find themselves in this situation that may be doing this a certain way. And there are a lot of, here where I live, a lot of people that are self-published authors that have gone on to publish other authors under their own publishing business. But I have found that a lot of them don't see the importance of just going back to the business side of it again. They're not registered businesses, like registered here with the Secretary of State's office. They are not, they're just not set up to have the business side of it set up. So my thing, when people are out searching, and I'm not saying that these individuals, because they're not registered and their business side of it not set up the way that it should be, that they're not reputable or they're not good. It's not a quality service that they provide. But I want these especially first-time self-published authors to know, or if they're doing editing or whatever it is that they may be doing for them in this area. But I want them to know how important it is when you're looking for someone to assist you in publishing your book, what to look for, and what are the signs that this is not the particular company or business for you to assist you into doing that, because you've been doing this for quite a while and you publish other authors yourself. So what advice could you give to someone that's thinking of going to a publisher to assist them?
Well, one of the first things you look for me, is referrals. If the person is willing to give you a name and a number, I tell people go to the website and look up the author and ask them. I have actually sent my authors to events and I did not go. And the person who was hosting was like, "You're not coming? Oh my goodness." I said, "No. These ladies, between the two of them, have published 9 books with me. If they don't know anything about my procedure and how I do things and how I take care of authors and how I pay royalties every quarter and how I make sure that their books are presentable, then I don't know who else will." Now, the other piece, too, is making sure that do they have a contract, or is this word of mouth? Secondly, 1, referrals. Number 2, did you get a contract with this person? Do you know what you're supposed to do and then what they're supposed to do, or is this strictly word of mouth? The first person I published, I confess, I was not registered. But after she started referring people to me, I realized right away I need to go. I live in Indiana, so I had to register myself with Indiana Secretary of State. I realized then, oh, wait a minute, I have to be a good steward of these people. I have to be a good steward. First off, I have to protect my personal assets, because if you're not registered, or if you don't have your business under an LLC or whatever covering, and I'm not a lawyer, so you need to seek a lawyer to see what the best indication you should be, whether it's LLC or incorporated. But I realized my personal assets would be at risk if I ever had a disgruntled author or somebody who wanted to sue me. I had to make sure that my personal house and all of that was protected and from this business, so that that entity could stand on its own. So that's number 2, making sure that you're protected. You realize that someone could sue not only you, but they could get into your 401k, all your personal assets, your house, your car, whatever. They could come after you. And people are sue happy. So you need to protect yourself. So the author needs to be protected. It doesn't matter whether the person is reputable or they're not reputable. You still need to protect yourself with a contract in your hand. And then also the person doing the work, you need to protect yourself. So there needs to be protection on both sides. And then number 3, it really almost goes back to referrals again. But once they establish a reputation of that, you can really see there's a trail, there's a path, there's consistency that you start. It's just like anything else. You can go to Amazon and put in B.K. Royston Publishing. B as in boy, K as in king, Royston, Royston Publishing. See all the books I published. There they are. They're all there. And see them. Not only just the ones that are authored by me, but my other authors as well. And actually see what the covers look like. You also can click on the cover and go and see the inside, what it looks like. You can reach out to the authors. You can find them on Facebook and ask them. Feel free to do that and ask them, because it makes all the difference in the world for actually having a referral, but of course legally protecting yourself against disgruntled authors, but against publishing companies as well, because now you have some paperwork. Because if it's just word of mouth and I trust you and the shake hand gentleman's agreement, what does that mean? I've had so many authors come to me and said, I paid the money and I have nothing. I have no book, I have nothing. And so, and someone else publishing could say, I did all the work and they didn't pay me. Well, it's your word against theirs, and there you go. So on both ends, everyone needs to, and we're seeing large publishing houses that are much, much larger than I am that are closing, that are shutting down, and the authors are basically turned out into the cold. So you really need to protect yourself on all accounts. And, it's the Better Business Bureau and all of those other entities. So I strive to walk in integrity and character and do right by my authors. So you just ask them. They'll tell you. They'll tell you.
That's one of the things I wanted them to hear from someone else, because I often, when they ask me that question, when they're looking for someone to assist them with publishing a book, you have to, first of all, like you said, you have to look for referrals. And word of mouth, to me, is the greatest thing that you could possibly get as far as a business. And, that goes both ways. That can make you, and it also can break you. So
sure.
Be careful, when you're doing it. I've known a lot of them locally to have been burned by publishing houses, and I've also known individuals that were doing publishing that were not registered, and to really have, like you say, disgruntled authors. Just sometimes you can't please people all the time.
No,
everybody.
No.
You can't please everybody, and that's just the bottom line. And I've learned myself, not necessarily with publishing, but with other things. I've learned that a contract is the most important thing. That's the first thing. I do events, a lot of events here, and I have my contract there. It's already prepared and ready. You have to, because you can no longer go, people no longer can go off the handshake anymore. You may have done that years and years ago. Word of mouth, my word is my bond, but it pretty much doesn't mean too much anymore. So, that's an awesome thing. And me sitting here thinking about, March is, I'm quite sure you know this, is Women's History.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to ask you this. I'm asking in twofold this question. The first part of it is, who is a woman that has influenced you in life that is not someone of celebrity? And who is someone that is a celebrity or well-known individual in history, in both, of course, female, that have influenced your life? And kind of kept you on the journey that you're on?
Well, of course, my first, as they say, my first hero is, of course, my mother. My mother has always been my greatest cheerleader. She has always, my parents were two peas in a pod. I mean, they basically championed for myself and my two sisters, and, my dad said, if human beings can do it, you can do it too. And my mother was the same exact way, just with her cheerleading outfit on, cheering me on. And so my mother has been my main cheerleader and champion. Even to this day, I call her every single solitary day. And she still says, hang in there, you can do it. Hang in there. Keep going, you can do it. I mean, when we hang up, she still says, hang in there, you can do it. No matter how rough day I've had, she says, hang in there, you can do it. And I think one other person that has really, I guess, inspired a lot of us, and there's so many, I've had teachers and preachers and, just people in my life that have really, really inspired me. But I'm an Oprah Winfrey fan. I really am. I just see, and I know no one's perfect and everybody can disagree and you just like her because she's a multi-billionaire. But no, I like the idea of somebody, as they say, starting from the bottom and now we're here. Just going through the rigors of it and just the whole difficulty and nothing handed to her, nothing on a silver spoon, and just a rigorous moving of it, and the work and the toil, and then the appreciation she has for her team and for her staff and for people in general, and for really wanting people to do well and to really support people, and I really admire that. I come from a family of givers, where my parents were major, major givers. They just have the heart for giving. They would just give, and I have that same gift and that same detriment. My husband has to watch me. Are you getting ready to give? Yeah, I'm getting ready to give because I just have the heart of a giver. I know everybody doesn't, but the women who probably have done even the most in this world are the ones that we don't know about, the ones that have influenced the most. I wrote a children's book called Granny, Grandpa, and Me, and it's birthed out of the grandparents that I see raising not their children but their grandchildren, and the struggle that is, and the hardship that is, and the pain that is, and the tears, and just the difficulty, and their energy level is not there. And I'm old, and they plead with you, help, help, help. I can't put my grandchildren in the system. And so, I could go on and on and on. Those two people I named, but there are so many unnamed women out there in the world that if you know them, appreciate them. If you know them, if you see them, it doesn't matter if it's a $5 Starbucks gift card. Do something for them to appreciate them for all their hard work and difficulty that they've endured and the pain and suffering. I mean, I see some grandmothers in my school with multiple grandchildren that they're raising, and their children are not involved in any way, shape, or form. They're all theirs, and they've got to bear the burden of that. And they do it under strain and stress, but the women of this world have borne the strain and stress of raising children and defending men and fighting for causes that have gone unchampioned by others. But know that this publisher and author, it does not go unnoticed by me. And I pray that God continue to give each and every one of us the strength and the courage to keep facing each day in spite of the wind, in spite of the despair, in spite of the stress, in spite of the hurt and pain, to keep moving for that next day, because we've got a generation that will be completely lost if we don't stand up and champion for them and fight for them to be all that they can be.
I agree. I just left an event about an hour and a half ago where the exact same thing what you said about a generation being lost if we do not come together and champion. It's almost verbatim to what you said. That struck me as all just now. It just was unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And that's true. And as you said, as my mother, when I think about Women in Women's History Month, first of all, like I said, my mother also. I could, like you said, I thought about that. I said, the night that she died, I said, I have lost my hero. My mother, and I didn't realize how much I was like her until she was gone. And that's crazy, because I always thought we were so different. And then when I realized sitting in her service, listening to people, countless persons getting up, and every single time there was one word, was one phrase that they used to describe her, and it was unbelievable. Each person, they said that she had a servant heart. And every child in that neighborhood, in the block where we live, she was the one that when the parents were at work during the summers, our house was the yard where all the kids congregated, and she fed everybody. And I sit back now and I wonder, I said, how did my mother manage to feed all of those children? She never asked the parents for anything. She said until and when I looked at all of them that came to her service and seeing how she touched their lives, how she changed, she kept them out of trouble, because I didn't grow up in the best neighborhoods. And I mean, just the impact she had on lives. And I would have to say the same thing. And mothers, and a lot of times now, kids. I was born in '71. Children now, a lot of them cannot say what we're saying about our mothers. And that's what today they were talking about at the event. Mothers now, in that generation, I guess generation after me, they've just been lost. There's more grandparents now raising children more now than it's ever been. And it's just something we're going to have to do. This is what we're going to have to do to bring that back. And we don't have that motherly thing where the mother wore so many hats, And now I think there's been a breakdown somewhere in the link between then and now, and that's something we're going to have to work on. But it's just amazing to me what you just said, and I heard a lady tonight say the almost the exact same thing.
It's amazing.
I'm
it's amazing.
I'm astonished at that. But
well, I said I never had any biological children, but I teach 500. I'm the computer teacher at my elementary school, so I watch 500 every week come through my computer lab, and some of them their classroom teacher doesn't see what I see, and so I always say, Lord, I don't even have any children. What am I doing here? But I'm able to see. I see what some other people don't see. So God has me there for eyes to be able to take care of them and actually look at them. Because some people are not looking. They're just looking, but they're not really looking into their eyes and really seeing the pain and hurt, and they're not really looking at them really closely. So
exactly, like my mother, had the opportunity like your mom to be at home. Other kids in my neighborhood didn't have that mother at home. They were single mothers, some of them working 2, maybe 3 jobs. But my mother, I think, was placed in that place to be there for them, to be that guiding hand, because most times they would have been home alone. And,
exactly.
You see, and that's a constant thing. They said say she saw him doing something, she kept him on the straight and narrow. She didn't mind telling them, what they needed to do and what they shouldn't be doing. And she often said they would call her.
Great thing.
They call her mom.
Yeah.
I birthed 2. She said, I birthed 2 children, but she said, oh, don't I have a whole lot of children? I said,
yes. Oh, my goodness, that's so awesome.
That's an awesome thing for a legacy for her to leave, and your mom sounds a lot like my mother. It's amazing. Yeah, it sounds a lot like my mother, and it's just a tremendous thing. Let me, I'm trying to see, my next question, I'm curious about when you are writing. Do you have a certain process, a certain time of day? I know you said you don't do anything by hand, that you're strictly computer and laptop. So do you have a process? Some people write at night, some in morning, and then some people say they write for maybe a few months or a few weeks, a day or so, and then it may pick it up a few months or so, weeks later. They just can't just sit down and do it all in one, just in 2 or 3 weeks or so. Do you have a process or?
Right now I'm in between projects. I've started it, but I've been teaching classes, and my process is morning, noon, and night. Whenever I have a free moment, I'm writing. Whenever there's a free time. So, I write early. I get up early and I write and work, and then I may doing lunch, and I may, if I get time, I'll do it in the evening. I write all the time. I tell my authors, to pick a time, what's best for them. I can't tell them they can write all day because they have lives. They have families. But me, myself, if it's on me, it's really like, ooh, I especially if it's a fiction. If it's fiction, because I write in a lot of genres. So if it's fiction, I'm one of those authors who hears them. I hear the voices in my head. And so the characters start talking, and I know I have to get it down. So, I start hearing dialogue, I start hearing speech patterns, I start seeing what should happen next. So I really, I'm speaking it into my phone, I'm scratching it on the towel paper, I'm doing it all. My husband hears voicemail messages, and before I really got a phone that could hold all of them, and he says, okay, there's something on the voicemail. Do you want me to delete it? I was like, no, I haven't got that down yet. So that's really kind of my technique, and that's really one of the main reasons why I say if you're passionate about it, if you're really passionate about it, it'll come. You'll write, and it won't leave you alone. It just will not. And I have a really sad story because a lady, she was older, and she was ill, but she just had been writing for a long, long time. And I said, okay, give me the materials. I'll help you get it done. And she never did. And she passed away in December of 2016 and never did get the book. I didn't publish it. Somebody else may have, but it never did. So I encourage you, whether you're Do you feel like some people say, well, I don't do it because I know I have something to say and I'm really passionate about it, but I don't know if I write well enough. I don't know if I... Don't worry about that. That's what editors are for. That's what other people can help you with the writing process and help you fill in the blanks. Just get down whatever you can get down, and then we can take care of the rest. Because, I truly, truly, truly believe that God has assigned each and every one of us an audience, a purpose, a plan. There is somebody, He would not put that in you if there wasn't somebody who was going to need that. There's somebody who's going to come across that. And then also, He's trying to bless you, because if the book is done and if you sell 1,000 or you sell 1,000,000, that is a stream of income that you're not having. That could happen, a stream that can continue on past your lifetime. So, you just really, you're missing out. So pick a time. If you, whatever that time is, just write. Just get it out. Just get it down on paper. Just write it. Don't let that haunt you forever. Don't let that book go in the ground with you. When the preacher says ashes to ashes, dust to dust, don't let it go down in the ground. Let it live on even after you're gone.
And I agree, totally agree with that. Never put off for tomorrow what you can do today.
Exactly.
And have no regrets. Let me see, my next question is, this is what I don't know what the trend is in other places, but I notice here with local authors, we don't personally, I love it because I like to connect with the person that's purchasing my book. A lot of authors here seem to have gotten away from book signings. Are you big on book signings? They seem to be depending on their website and social media to sell their books. They're not getting any face-to-face connection with the people that are following them on social media or who are purchasing their books. And I have to have that face-to-face to meet people, talk to them. If it's no more than, I like to go to, we have, here where I live in a parish, we have 14 libraries around our parish where I live in Baton Rouge. And I do it's a book talks I've been doing for the last few months. And I get an opportunity to really get a feel for what they think about my book and what their thoughts are and how my book has affected them, or what am I getting across my purpose or my vision for my book. Are you a book signing person, or are you just basically using social media, websites, things like that to kind of get the word out and to get your book sold?
I use it all, but I'm one of those people, and some people are not big advocates of it, and I understand that. They're like, oh, people walk by vendor tables and they don't stop, they don't talk, they don't want. I guess I just have that personality. I have that because when I'm at an event, I'm talking. I'm hi, hello. Even if nobody's buying anything, I've never had a vendor event where I have not made a connection of some kind with someone. Even if they didn't buy something, it could be potential for an author. You still have to shake hands and make connections. It's just like any politician. I'm sorry, it cannot just be of a website and on social media. You've got to have those presence. Yes, you should have a social media presence. Yes, you should have your own intellectual property, your own real estate, your own spot on the internet. But you still have to get out and touch people. You still do. I am a great advocate of it. I do events all the time. I sing too. I write music as well. So I just got home like 2.5 hours ago, 3 hours ago from singing this weekend. And I have my books with me and I have my music with me. If I'm speaking, I have my books with me and I have my music. So whether you met me singing, whether you read my books, whether you met me and I was teaching a workshop, whether I was directing a choir, whatever, I always make a connection. This is my whole world, and I tie them all in together. But you still, that of staying home and just doing everything electronic it does not work. It's all about relationships. You still have to make connections with people. Even if you go to somebody else's event, and, I'm not saying try to piggyback and, buy myself. No, just be in the place. You don't have to leave your books in the car. This is not your event. You don't have a vendor table, leave your stuff in the car, but you still have to make connections with other people. Don't try to steal somebody's limelight, and don't try to steal somebody's thunder. But you need to be in the place. You need to make connections with the city. You need to make sure especially if you have a children's book, you need to be making connections with teachers. You need to be making connections with public libraries. You need to sometimes come in and offer your services to make connections, and you don't charge. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes you need to do some free events, and you'll always have your books in the car. If somebody says, well, where's your book? Here it is. It's $10. It's $15. It's $20. Here. Yes, I have my credit card ready. I'm ready to go. So, no, I'm a great advocate for it. You still have to get out there and be with the people. I'm sorry. They still want to meet you. They still want to shake your hand. They still want to make a connection with you. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate.
I'm somewhere just about every weekend, and it's not always about, I do a lot of free events that educate, especially for women, that educate them, inspire them, and encourage them to do things. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I do see there's a trend here. I don't know if it's anywhere else. You see very few.
It is. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. People just want to sell online, and they want the PayPal button to ding, and I love it when my PayPal button dings. But I also know that I'm going to have to get in my car, get dressed, and actually go to the event. There are sometimes I'm going to actually have to pay the vendor fee and actually go to the event. There are sometimes I'm going to have to pay for the advertisement. I'm going to have to put my cards in the glam bags because I'm in business. I'm in serious business. And if you're really in serious business about your book, you will make the effort. Sure, you can't maybe pay $1,500 to $3,000 at some of these large conferences for a table, but if somebody says it's $10, $20, that means you can sell. You just have to sell one book. You just have to sell 2 books for a $20 table. You know, you got to make sure that it's in your budget and in your means, and then go for it. And then make connections to other events and other things. See how you can partner together and do some things together. I think we're all going to have to learn how to do community and go back to the team building even more. So now, with the new economy and a new administration and the new situation that we have, we're going to have to figure out all types of creative ways to come together, build each other up, figure out how we're going to collaborate and partner rather than compete.
And I agree with you once again. Okay, I have two more questions. We have about 3 minutes left. What is your goal? What is one goal you want to accomplish for yourself in 2017?
Well, my goal for my company and for myself as well is really learning more and more about the marketing and promotions process. I feel like I have the publishing down. I feel like I have the experience to help writers write their books. What I'm learning more and more and more, and it's changing all the time, is the marketing and promotions piece. It all depends on the topic. It all depends on the author. It all depends on the book itself. It all depends on the market, what's moving, what's trending. And so that is really my focus and goal for 2017. And to really meet the needs of authors who even have already written books, and the book didn't go. So why didn't the book go? Was it the cover? Was it the audience? Do you speak about it? Do you travel? What really does actually that happen? And I have a promote boot camp, so reach out to me at bkroystonpublishing.com or find me on social media. And that's really one of my main goals, is to find alternative ways and find unique ways to help you market and promote your books.
Every Sunday at 5 o'clock in my show.
I'm sorry?
Hello? That wasn't me. That's someone I think that's on.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Wasn't I? Let me ask you this final question of the evening for the show would be, how can authors and other individuals that are in the literary world get in touch with you? How can they make contact with you?
Sure. I'm everywhere you want to be. Julia Royston, Julia, Royston, Royston. So my website is bkroystonpublishing.com. And then JuliaRoyston.net. That's kind of my whole world. That's my headquarters website, and that'll link you out to everything. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I'm everywhere you want to be, so look for me and search out for me. If you'd like to sign up for my email list and be a part of my listing and find out everything that I'm doing, it's bit.ly/write it now. If you would like for information for me to help you get your book published for the Royston Writers Package, it's bit.ly/write it now. The Royston Writers Package is free, and it contains my contract, a blank contract, so you know what it looks like. It contains a non-disclosure agreement so that any pages you send me, that you have the assurance that it's strictly confidential. And we won't let the world know until we have a signed contract and a publisher's package done, and we want the world to know about your book. So reach out to me, bit.ly/write it now.
Okay, now you heard it here, where you can get in touch with her. It has been awesome talking with you.
Thank you.
A lot. It has been truly awesome, and I look forward to having you again. And I want to thank everyone for listening in to Ubawa Radio, where we are dedicated to promotion of literacy and the advancement of authors and writers from unrepresented groups. A little tide tone there at the end. So it's been a good time. I'm wishing everyone that's listening in a great week to come. Thank you again, and until next time, I bid you farewell.
Bye-bye.